Hello, everybody. Glad to be here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we're working on keeping our beaches clean and having good water quality in Santa Monica Bay beaches. We love our beaches. They're fantastic places. And I particularly like this picture because it shows this little girl having a great time molesting these poor terns that had been sitting on the beach. That's my granddaughter, by the way. Okay. And she's proudly holding a by the wind sailor who thousands had washed up earlier this year during the springtime. There we go. So we have a whole variety of beaches in Santa Monica Bay, and they're ranging from, well, first of all, we have some world famous beaches. We have Malibu, Venice, where I like to take all of my visitors instead of Disneyland. We just go down to the Strand in Venice, and it's quite a show down there. Our beaches bring in a tremendous amount of wealth to California. Studies by Linwood Pendleton and his colleagues have shown that we could have up to $3 billion worth of economy just in California beaches alone. So they're well worth protecting. And he also showed that people seek out beaches that are protected, have good water quality, and also no trash on the beach. People will actually seek out these particular places. Probably one of the best known recreational is surfing. I'm a surfer, so this gets first place on my slides here. And there's some world famous places. Oops, back. Like Malibu, of course, and then some lesser known places. I live in El Segundo, and these two are by El Segundo. That's not me, unfortunately. I'd have a heart attack if I was in a wave like that. This is my speed right here, okay? We have our beaches. They're ranging from small, narrow beaches backed by sea bluffs and cliffs like that, all the way to our really wide, sandy beaches down in the middle of the bay, like Manhattan, Hermosa, Dockwater, places like that. And we have a great biodiversity of organisms in Santa Monica Bay beaches. Uh, right up here, you can see during certain times of the year, primarily the spring, we'll get huge beds of small bean clams. And they're actually, you can see a band of these, they look kind of grayish, running all the way at low tide. Lots of birds are feeding on amphipods that are up by the rack that's casted up during the tides. And you can see a whole group of different kinds of shorebirds feeding here. And then over here, we could see the burrows of sand, not the burrows, but the trails of dune beetles. Sometimes we'll get whole bunches of snowy egrets. And I've at one time where I like to surf, I've seen like 35 of them feeding on sand crabs. So it's an amazing diversity of not only birds, but also animals living in the sands. And especially birds of concern, like we've seen small snowy plovers, and then we actually have Lee's tern colony over in the Venice Beach area. So maintaining good water quality is essential and keeping the beaches clean. My buddy Bear Dog holding up some of the trash. We'll talk a little bit about that later. This is from Gilda Bay. I took about a year's worth of their report cards. And you can see here, the top two right in through here. This is summer dry, winter dry. For the most part, we do pretty good because of all the ways I'm going to be showing you in a second of how we're trying to keep the water clean and a little bit less pollution in it from storm drains mainly. But when it comes time to winter, some of these places then shift down to bad grades, especially poor old Santa Monica Pier. It has a real problem. And the whole culprit is primarily focused around storm drains. And there we're finding that what's important is people have to realize they don't run just when it's raining, like right now outside, but also dry weather from the irrigation of different properties, golf courses, all that, and also natural water coming up in the low areas like you see in Bina Creek up where it starts. And these are some of the storm drain outlets. Now, these go right across the beach when it rains, and they're going straight across the beach and into the surf zone during hard rains. Some of them don't make it across and they'll form pools, and that's what we would like to get rid of. There's one that when you go down Vista Del Mar, you'll see ones like that. That's a storm drain structure. Sometimes they're buried and they have to be unburied in the beginning of winter. And trash, you'll see mainly coming from the storm drains. It's not really people that are on the beach, but it's coming from the storm drains. And you can see it has a lot of problems. The ones that I think is most insidious would be the plastic styrofoams that will break into smaller and smaller pieces. Plastic doesn't go away. It just keeps going all the way down to nanoparticles. So dealing with storm drain pollution. Probably the simplest thing is don't let it get into the storm drains to begin with. Only clean water should be going into storm drains. So some cities you'll see a lot of things like the grates and stuff. It keeps the really large stuff out, but you'll still see like this, but you'll still see small fragments getting in, and good street sweeping policies are good. We have what we call the Green Street Program in some of the South Bay cities. And there you can see over in this map here, the red areas are where they're actually incorporating a lot of different ways to not only capture trash like this right here, you got a little basket that'll capture it, but get that stormwater back into the ground where it belongs. Soil bacteria are marvelous, and they will actually degrade a lot of your pollutants that are in the runoff coming off of streets, like oils, greases, things of that nature. And that's where things like these bioswales really come in handy. Try to get the water into the bioswales. And bioswales will also enhance your biodiversity of your neighborhoods, which is great. Some more about these bioswales or nature-based systems. You see right here where the water will go into here, and these are structured, but they'll also have a lot of native plants that'll enhance biodiversity. Right around LMU here, we see a lot of grasscrete, so that they'll use that to try to get the runoff back into the ground where it belongs. My students and I did a lot of work on the Biana Creek. It's the stormwater capture system, and it's right over here along Biana Creek over in Culver City. So we did a lot of studies during wet weather where we went out there and we sampled water coming off of the commercial lots. It goes in through this whole garden area, and then when it finally fills up, it goes into Biana Creek. And we saw a huge reduction, good significant reduction of pollutants coming out of that rain garden into Biana Creek. So they do work. The big ticket item is right there by Santa Monica Pier. They have the Pico Kenner system that takes a lot of stormwater or just runoff, and they'll take it across the beach. They capture that. This plant's been here for quite a while. They capture that and completely turn it into recycled water that they use for irrigation for customers up the line and also along the Santa Monica Freeway there. These low flow diversions, to me, are probably one of the biggest things that's been done in Santa Monica Bay. They take storm water from what happened here? There we go. They take storm water that's coming in here. They transfer it through a series of pipes that will actually, these deep wells that'll filter out the trash, and then it goes into the sewer system for treatment at Hyperion. And we've got about 35 of these up and down Santa Monica Bay beaches, and they have really improved the water quality, taken a lot of beaches that were getting failing grades and now made them into good solid grades like A's and B's. These hydraulic control systems, again, you don't see these things above the ground. They're all underground. These will actually take runoff that's coming in through. Going on here. They'll take runoff that's coming through, put a twist on it so that you drop out your sediments here, oils and greases float up there, and clean water comes out here, or cleaner water comes out there. And that's being done not only in different places in Manhattan Beach. And this picture right here shows some that just went in last year right at El Porto, which is a real heavy-duty surf spot. And then wetlands. You cannot mention enough about the good quality of water treatment a good wetland will provide. So in this particular case, we got a couple of different kinds of wetlands here. You can see over here, we got the freshwater marsh where you have a lot of water coming in from Playa Vista, goes right through this marsh, and it gets treated natural system out through Biana Creek. And then this is all the Biana Creek wetlands. Right in here are the Biana wetlands. And my students and I have done a lot of studies looking how water going into that from Bina Creek has a lot of bacteria. By the time it sits in that wetland and flows back out with the ebbing tide, those bacteria have been reduced considerably. Wetlands do a great job of making good water quality. And then on some of these channels, you could actually put booms across to collect it. Takes a lot of work to get that trash out though. So this thing came into town about in 2020. This is the Bina Creek Trash Interceptor. If you go take a look in Playa del Rey, you'll see it. And it actually sits at the mouth of Bina Creek. You can see it collecting trash down there. It was built by the Ocean Cleanup Group, and now LA County maintains and runs it. And it's a kind of an interesting system. It's like a gigantic catamaran. Inside there, they have a barge with 6 big dumpsters on it. And so what it does is the trash enters here, it goes up a couple conveyor belts, it's distributed amongst these big bins inside there. They then pull them out when they're filled, they pull them out, they're boated around into the small boat landing area in Marina del Rey. They're offloaded into a truck that takes them to the Puente Hills landfill and recycling facility. They recycle out materials there, and then the rest goes into landfill that's non-recyclable. A bunch of my students and I, we became excellent trash pickers by getting samples coming out of those bins. And we ran through them and essentially categorized everything. And I was kind of surprised, but the vast majority of material that's collected is woody debris, leaves and things like that. And then the rest of it, as you could see, this orange down here, are mainly different kinds of plastics, some wood, some cloth materials, but a lot of plastic type materials. And so what's important is you could use these data to fine tune what your systems are doing to try to capture some of this material in the storm drain systems. And like what I was thinking is, especially for this woody material, how's that getting into the system? I know that it'll take small stuff will get in there, but our gardeners and people like that washing this stuff in and then letting it get in there rather than picking it up. So the bottom line is our beaches are cleaner. I think I've seen that trend going in. But we need to keep assessing from the data collected, like from the trash interceptor, how can we better clean our beaches? How can we better capture material before it gets into the storm drain systems? And to me, one of the best things to do is to teach the public by doing. So when my buddies and I've been drilling them on this, when you guys walk across the beach and you see trash, pick it up and put it in the trash cans. When you're coming back out of the surf, pick it up and put it back into the trash can, like my buddy Eric here is doing. And that's it. If I could get this slide to go.
Thanks, Jonathan. Sit down.
It's on to go.
Thank you, John. We have time for at least one question.
I was surprised to learn about, I think you called it LFD, and I'm wondering how often and how well are they cleaned out?
Yeah, what they have, the way they do it is that they'll have a big Vector truck come up, and then one of the large, like I call them tubes, one of the large shafts going down, they've got a screen in there so that when the storm water goes into that, any trash gets caught up on that screen, they'll put a Vector tube down there to suck it out. And I think they do, I don't know the schedule, but they should be doing this on a routine basis. And it's the same with those large storm scepters type systems where they have a couple of hatches up above, they pop one open and they suck out everything in there. And they're the large Vector trucks that do that.
We have time for one more question.
Hello? Are you involved with any plans to clean the sources of pollution at the source by identifying fallouts that are really, really polluting in the LA River and Arroyo Seco and all the other water sources, rather than letting them get into the ocean?
Right. Well, obviously the main thing would be trash and debris like that. And I think the previous speaker showed, like on LA campus, where they have like trash bins and stuff like that. So it's just encouraging people to use that. Another probably major pollutant source would be just the roadway debris, not debris, but so much like the oils on the roadways. And especially if you ever change a tire, your hands are black. And so when you see a fresh rain and that water coming off a roadway, it's really discolored with all of those pollutants. And there's a lot of metals and stuff like that that are involved in just automobile traffic. So that's a tough one. And that's why I'm saying probably the best way to deal with that is to try to, it's going to get into the storm drain system, but take that water instead and divert it into bioswales, especially down the median of roadways. I think that is probably the most effective. It's nature-based solution. And it's certainly costs, I would imagine, costs a lot less than building a big treatment facility.
Thanks, John. All right, thank you.